Hello, friends. Today is the 23rd of August, 2014, and I'm interrupting my work on the Rays and the Initiations webinar commentary for part 2 to again deal with some of the magical words connected with identification and also with a little meditation on identification. How this works for me is I do a lot of academic work solidly in the Tibetan's books, and then I occasionally take some time out and I remind myself of the reality of pure being, which I think is the most important realization, at least possible for me at this time, and I think important for many of us, that we will have the sense of being the world, participating in the contents of consciousness as if we were the being which substands all, and from which all perceivables are derived. It's not always that I, quote unquote, feel like doing this. Sometimes it's not possible, and sometimes even something eaten like just, let's say, sugar in your tea or honey in your tea can lower the vibration so that what was perceived is no longer as easily perceived. But when the impulse comes upon me, see, as I've said, I've got this, a number of little red books and black books, and I work here in this, hundreds, even thousands of entries. So these are mostly magical words or mnemonics or words that remind me of certain mantrams which help to induce the realization which I seek. Realization is always based upon the perception of contrast. There is a certain type of perception which prevails ordinarily, and then something new. It was always there, but something new is seen, and it contrasts with what had been seen. And so it awakens you to a degree, and it is a kind of realization, a new perception of a deeper level of reality. So, I sit down with my little red book. I go into our temple, and the mood has to be upon me. Later maybe the mood won't have to be upon me. Maybe I can just do this at any time. And I begin to write magical words related to reality. Well, they're not real magical words, they're simply mnemonics which stimulate in me a certain realization when I approach them in the right manner. I have some of these, I have so many thousands of these, but a few that came up today, and I'll just deal with them a little bit. The word see. And for me, this can mean same, everywhere, eternally. Or, you could even say Seth, same, everywhere, forever. But see, of course, is also a word, and it is related to the realization which occurs. So, see is a command, everywhere, eternally. And also sameness is another way of looking at it. I am in pursuit of sameness rather than otherness. This will overcome the subject-object dichotomy. Franklin Merrill Wolff, the philosophy of consciousness without an object. All objects are understood as the perceiver. And it is, in my view, it is perceiving, it is the act of perceiving which creates objects. Actually, what I call it the act of self-perception, which creates objects. All potential objects are inherent within the self which perceives itself. Seen, sameness everywhere. Same or sameness everywhere, eternally, now. You know, these things have to sink in. They have to make a deep impression upon consciousness, and you will know when it happens. There will be a change of perception. A new thing will enter the contents of consciousness. It will be a realization. Otherwise, these are just words, and no change of energy or change of perception occurs when the word is spoken or thought. But when that change occurs, you will know it. And something else that was always there, always present. See, revelation is of that which has forever been. It's not something which is created anew in the moment of perception. It has always been, as DK has pointed out to us. Obey, obey, obey. One being everywhere. And of course it makes me also think of one being everywhere, you. One being everywhere, you. Or you are one being everywhere. Yeah, obey. Yeah, obey. Obedience is implied in this. You are one being everywhere. But it is this capacity to look in all directions and see and register but one being, one beingness. Doesn't make any difference what may be the variety with which your consciousness is filled. You may be presented in your consciousness with great variety, and still the great fact is the one being. IF, well, this is a little bit of a deviation, but in the absoluteness, all is eternally fulfilled. We so often desire something. We say, I'm incomplete. I want more. I want to be in association with something. I want to attract it to myself or be attracted to it and have it, possess it. And that will bring me fulfillment. But there comes a realization that as the one being, we are eternally fulfilled in essence. Eternally fulfilled in essence. Or maybe it's eternally fulfilled. FEA. Eternally fulfilled in essence. Maybe not in the world of relativity, but we are, for the moment, not completely interested in the world of relativity. We're interested in transcending the world of relativity. Eternally, forever fulfilled. Fier, in essence, forever fulfilled. In essence. And that changes one's whole approach to the nature of desire. I have to have this, I have to achieve that. Of course, all of this is true in the relative world, and we are not excused from that pursuit, even should we realize that fulfillment is forever, we are not excused from the desirous act of reaching for fulfillment in the relative world. And sometimes for the number, for the letter I write the 8. It signifies the greater world descending into the lower world, creating its reflection and returning. It is for me, the 8 is the absolute in manifestation. If I was to try to write the absolute, can't do it, you know, but I would do this. Well, let's see. There. And then with nothing in between. And this nothing becomes something, and through self-reflection, which the 8 can signify, creates the universe. I'm saying self-perception creates the universe. And, well, I don't know if I should call it this or this. Creates the universe or becomes the universe. Itatsuat, I am the substance of all things. I think this is a powerful one. Substance is that which substands. I, the one being, substand all things. All is derived of me. Every once in a while I hope there's enough vowels, you know, to make these work. Whoop. Okay, let's see how that might work. All is derived of me. Aidom. All is. Oops. Oh, no. Is derived of me. Aidom. All is derived of me. Itatsuat. Yatisawat. I am. And this as an adjective. The immutable substance of all things. I am. Oh, there's a serious look. Okay. I am the immutable substance of all things. By things, I mean contents of consciousness. The thing is not necessarily a concrete object. It can be any perceivable. I am the Itatsuat, and I can change that a little bit. I am the immutable substance of all. There we have soap. Maybe it cleans the consciousness. I am the immutable substance of all perceivables. And perceivables, of course, are somehow resident within the self. There's no, in my view, no objective universe. We create the objective universe, the apparently objective universe, through self-perception. As there is nothing else, if the act of perception arises, it has to be of the one thing that there is, which is the self. So, I am the immutable substance of all perceivables, and one has to get the feeling of it. If I can use a word like feeling, one has to have that energetic registration of this. I am the immutable substance of all perceivables. Is. Oh, there's one that's easy to use. I substand. Isa actually means father in Finnish. I substand all. And that I, you know, it's a special use which takes it away from egoity. I substand all. I could meet you in that substandingness, and we would be the same thing, you know, until you can perceive another as the sameness, there is no true ontological intimacy. I substand all. meaning there is nothing which substands me. Ultimately, what it's doing is claiming that the perceiver is the absolute itself. Somehow in the act of self-perception, which is one level of intensity removed from the act of self-being. There's the seen and there's the being. And to be the infinitessence is the ultimately greater thing than to see the infinitessence in reflection. So being is above seeing. Seeing is about consciousness, and being is the ultimate possibility. Is I substand, I substand all. This is an interesting one because I realized how the realizations come. Tabote, the blinking of the dragon's eye. The dragon is the dragon of wisdom. The dragon of wisdom, in a flash, reveals the truth of beingness, but it's short. At least it's short at the stage of self-veiling, in which I exist, relative I, in which so many of us exist. So suddenly, you see it, and then it's gone. But pretty soon that dragon is going to keep its eye open all the time. Isat Sith, I substand all and am the same in the heart. I've spoken before that I think the vibration of sameness occurs within the heart, or that at least that's where I register it. Such a subtle thing. Now you see it, now you don't. Now you are it, now you're not. Well, you always are, but you don't see that you are. Isat Saith, I substand all and am the same as all in the heart. Isat Saith, I substand all. And the registration, the realization of substanding all is realized in the heart. A sudden, maybe one, I've seen the yogis and tap their heart. Or maybe Dalai Lama, I don't know, to remind one that one has a heart. I think maybe Master Moria spoke of that too. It's a tapping of the heart to remind one that one has a heart, a great organ of perception. Isat Saith, I substand all and am the same as all in the heart. If, the great question, immortal forever, we're supposed to realize the immortality of the inner God. We can do any number of things intelligently, lovingly, willfully. However, if we do not realize the immortality of the inner God, we're missing the one something of importance, or the one nothing of importance. My old teacher used to say, don't get all involved in the sideshow and miss the main event. I guess he considered my astrology something of the sideshow. All very interesting, but don't miss the main event. The main event. Yeah, it's the circus analogy, but it's the main non-event. It's the only non-event. That is, everything else is event. Every universe is an event, but the one non-event forever is the one and only beingness. Apisa, all permeating, I substand all. I like the word permeation, Somehow it suggests, very Neptunian in a way, flowing into everything. so that there's no barrier between the self and any other apparent thing. The one self, the self in all, it does not meet with any boundary. Permeation defies boundaries. And while in the relative world it's absolutely essential that we keep and observe boundaries in order for this world of self-perception to come to reflect archetypal purpose, the intended pattern, we have to have things. We have to have differentiation. We have to have boundaries. There's no differentiation without boundaries, but all-pervading I substand all. It sounds like a powerful one, apisa. Masitbya. This is a little deviation. My strength is in the being I am. Sometimes we wonder where our strength comes from. And I'll just, kind of put down what I think anyway. All strength comes from inexhaustible being. The one and only is inexhaustible. Well, if you're exhausted, you cease to be. Or you can no longer do what you've been doing. And this, whatever it is, it does it. Well, it doesn't do itself. It is itself forever. That's inexhaustibility. My strength and the strength of us all come from the inexhaustible being, the source of all. SOA, Soar. From the source of all. Whoop! I have my own sphere of activity. Source of all. Oh, this one I love. Of course, I remind myself of it. It's probably in all my books, little books. These are not, basically I'm sharing with you my journals in which I write the most intimate things to myself, or to my not-self. The things that somehow count the most, they all relate to the fundamental, which is being. Batib, break through into being. Well, who's breaking through? No reality is breaking through, but break through into being. It has a psychologically impulsive effect. And sometimes I get desperate about that. I remember that story about the guru holding his chela's head underwater. The chela came to him and said, teach me, guru. And he kept coming back, and the guru's response was to suddenly grab him by the hair and shove him underwater and hold him there and hold him there, hold him there. And finally, not to kill him, but to lift him up, gasping. And I think it's so amazing. And the guru asked him, what were you thinking as I held you underwater? What did you want? He said, I wanted air. All I could think of was air. Okay. He says, well, when you want the wisdom I can teach, as much as you wanted air below the water, come back to me. Come back to me then. So I wonder how much we want the wisdom of true self-realization. We have to be pretty desperate, spiritually desperate, ontologically desperate for being. And if we break through into being, break through into being, it's a whole different world. I dwell within a world of unity. I know all souls are one. God is. The Lord for A stands firm. Naught else exists. Now, always take us back to Dyna 2, page 285. six trumpeted words. God is the Lord, for A stands firm. Being exists alone, naught else is. 284, 285. Dinah. If you get these under your belt, and you know feelingly what they mean, sentiently, through realization what they mean, then you have the basis you need to proceed in reality. Well, I seem to be frozen there. And, whoopsie. Now I'm not frozen anymore. Although it's kind of interesting, can anything ever freeze? The only thing that's really frozen is absoluteness, because it's invariable, unchanging. All other things can never truly freeze. Continuity of being. What do we perceive? We might want continuity of awareness. It's continuity of consciousness. But what about the perception of continuity of being, living in continuity of being? That is what relative I would prefer, our I, relative I. To live in continuity of being. But there's a bit more to it here. I say, okay, I live in continuity of being, but what about I live as continuity of being? ILACOB. I live as continuity of being. If you're living in something, you perceive it as different from yourself. But if you're living as something, it is you. I live as continuity of being. And then, perhaps I can get to the point where is not very euphonious. Hewitt Pogue. I will the presence of God. Well, I will to perceive the presence of God, really. The presence of God is always present. Presence of being. I will the presence of being. I will the presence of God. I will the presence of the presence. We have to be able to will our realization. Will our realization. Okay. Okay, it's giving me a little problem there. Maybe if I leave the picture to the side of some of these things, the computer maybe is just not fast enough. I will the realization of being. Sometimes I feel like that boy underwater, that nothing makes any difference if the realization of being is not continuous. And, we might want to say like this, continuous realization of being. Continuous realization of being. It seems of great value, superbly valuable, timeless, always so. Universes come and go forever, and have, and will, and a whole sense of past and future and present is relative to the fact of related to the fact of limited perception. If one could perceive all and even more be all continuously, there would be no sense of past, present, and future. There would be no movement of any limited perceivable into another position relative to other perceivables, because the self would be all of them, and so nothing would move. Maybe it's Parmenides and Zeno attempted at some point to prove there was no movement. Well, fundamentally, I think there is none, because you need multiplicity for movement. You need division. And if there is no division, there is no movement. Ultimately, there is no difference between the inhalation and exhalation of the great breath. Ultimately, that which is the absolute and that which seems to be other than the absolute, namely a universe, are all the same thing. And even the second fundamental of the secret doctrine is somewhat illusory when compared to the first. The first fundamental there is one boundless immutable principle, and the second is that there's the law of periodicity. But with the boundless immutable principle, you don't need division. With periodicity, you need enumeration and division, which is fundamentally illusory, though actually existent in consciousness. ILACOB, ILACOB. I live as continuity of being. I live as continuity of being. ISAPA. I substand all and pervade all. Some of these might have quite an evocative effect, you know. They have to be used as mantrams, which have an effect upon perception, upon realization. I substand all and pervade all. And of course, am all. And the Tibetan has essentialized this from some ancient source, giving a great mantram for the second ray: naught is but me. Naught is but me. Well, there's nothing but changes of scene. Maya is the multiplicity of changing scenes in the cosmic kaleidoscope. The enlightened improve the scene. It's just endlessness of scenes, ever-changing. So you might say the enlightened beautify the scene and render it congruent with the intended archetype. The archetype intended by the universal logos, and may be absorbed from the absolute, which is all possibility fulfilled forever. There's no good reason for a universe. I tried to come up with one, you know, and I've talked about this in my infinitization book. But when in order, you know, it just ends up being paradox. In order for that to continue to be what it is, it must also be what it is not. And that's the reason for duality, the contradiction of self, which is the universe. Self with a capital S-E-L-F, everything capitalized. Contradiction of self. And, you know, just a little piece of practical advice, certainly for myself. It's possible to abstract out and not be much use, you know, a little bit so heavenly high that one is of no earthly good, no earthly use, but be all and engage fully in the illusion. Really, be all and engage fully in the illusion. By F-E-T, be all and engage fully in the illusion. Some of these are more euphonious than others. Some of them are just awful. But, you know, if you say the word see, you know, what would I, you know, you could say also something like this, you know, see everything in the light of the eternal. See it, see it, Lotte. See everything in the light of the eternal. See everything in the light of the eternal. And what about this? Be everything. Whoa, that's a good one. Be, okay. Be everything eternally, forever. What's your beef? You know, be everything forever. I know that a lot of this seems like nonsense. But sometimes, you know, when strict logic does not lead you to realization, you have to circumvent strict logic and find other ways to induce realization. Realization, I don't know if it's the realization I'm trying to work with here, but it's related to the fifth sublevel of the atomic plane. Realization. So we have the beatitude for the seventh level and healing for the sixth level. Is that it? Or is it, no, it's not healing. It's active service for the sixth level. And then realization for the fifth level, counting from above to below. We don't want to walk around in ignorance. We want to be realized, self-realized. Well, Yogananda had it. He had the idea. The self-realization fellowship. You can't really say more than that. It's so utterly necessary to be a self-realized externalization of the one infinite being. That's what we are. Self-realized externalization of the one infinite being. Of course, even the paradox is that even as we believe, we believe we are not self-realized, we constantly are, because the one infinite being is forever self-seen. And even more importantly, self-being, if I may say. So, the one infinite being is self-seen. What language is that? Toifis. The one infinite being is self-seen. But even more than that. The one infinite being is self-seen. The one infinite being is self-seen, and this is even the more important one. The one infinite being is self-being. Now, how you can pronounce that, I don't know. Toibisba. Maybe that's not so good an acronym. Maybe it's even easier to just remember the phrase. Sometimes the acronyms are more difficult than the phrase. The one infinite being is self-being. And we could say forever self-being. So, you know, whoa, that's pain. That's pain too. Okay, that's better. We live in this world of multiplicity, apparent multiplicity, and we are the substratum. I substand all and pervade all. Now we forever have to be involved with Maya, which is multiplicity, measurable multiplicity. Maya is measurable. I think one of the terms for Maya is measurability, one of the definitions. So we are forever confronted with multiplicity. Most mysterious is Maya and forever. Shankara said something like that. Eternal, forever. Most mysterious is Maya and forever. Cyclically forever, I would say. And really non-existent at all, but, well, non-unreal, though periodically actual. So we have a very special definition of real. So forever we are confronted with Maya, cyclically at least. At the same time, continuity of being must be perceived. And I would almost say, rejoice in continuity of being, ILACOB. Rejoice in continuity of being. What do you rejoice in? Do you want to rejoice in the evanescent, in that which passes? If you rejoice in the evanescent, it has to be in the evanescent as it represents the one infinite being. Not for the thing in itself, but for the thing as if it were the one infinite being. Externalizations of the one infinite being. We can rejoice in those as long as we remember that the externalizations actually are the one infinite being. And that's the ultimate value of them, that they are the one infinite being. Let's have a little meditation. And we go as deep into ourselves as we can, leaving all thingness of self behind. We don't notice this and that about ourselves. We don't notice quality. We're moving beyond quality. We don't identify with any attributes of the self, any quality, any descriptor of ourself which stands in differentiation to anything else. We don't, for the moment, care about differentiation. We'll use ISAPA. ISAPA. I substand all and pervade all. ISAPA. Take anything, any content of consciousness before your inner eye, and whatever you choose, be it a person, a thing, whatever, some energy state, whatever. It could at first seem like a thing in itself, as if it had its own being. But it is always substanded by the origin, by the source, by the one without a second, the eternal original, I substand all and pervade all, and realize yourself, what you are, as the very substance of that which you perceive. I am the substance of that which I see. I am the substance of that which I see. Yatsut wis. I am substance of that which I see. I am the substance. That I has no attributes at all. I substand all and pervade all. I substand that which I see. I pervade that which I see. I am that which I see. Yatwis, I am that which I see. Nothing escapes the substantialization which I am. Nothing escapes. Nothing escapes the substant which I am. I substand all and pervade all. Registered in the heart, felt in the heart, the recognition of same in other. This is what we're talking about. Trocio, funny one. In apparent other, really. The recognition of same in other. I substand all and pervade all. I live as continuity of being. I work in the world as I must, in the world of illusion as I must. But all the time, there is continuity of being, which is the same as continuity of selfhood, which is the same as continuous I. Naught is but me forever. The one and the many, being the unity, dealing with the multiplicity. I substand. I substand all. I substand all and pervade all. And the more I realize the immutability that I am, the more practical and effective I can be in the world of illusion, the world of self-reflection. Nothing escapes substantialization, and no one is excused from improving the Maya of manyness, of differentiation. Both are required, even though one is more essentially real. I substand all and pervade all. Naught is, but me. Forever, as always. Fa. Forever, as always. Naught is, but me. Well, it's an ongoing effort in the world of relativity to prove that essentially the world of relativity is not real, though existent in consciousness, i.e. in self-reflection, in perceived self-reflection. Self-registration. So, in a strange sort of way, we are obliged to know the real and live as the real while living in that which is relatively unreal, though naturally essentially real, as there is nothing but the real. But we are obliged to live a kind of duality in which actually the two are forever one. But it takes different skills, perhaps. One is a contemplative skill, which is related to samadhi, the realization of the bliss of the one, and the others is a kind of skill of the mind, of the intellect, to live within the many in such a way that what we do, what relative we do within the many, brings the many closer to the pattern which is preconceived by the universal logos. So we are, what was that? Maybe that was a picture. We are archetypalizing the many. That was interesting. Maybe a snapshot was taken there. I don't know. Archetypalizing the many, which come forth in a non-archetypalized state, and because they have ignorant free will, remain in that state until the light begins to seep in and the re-archetypalization or the archetypalization of the many becomes possible. So we are obliged to work within the world of multiplicity, of Maya, of differentiation, to archetypalize all this differentiation until it truly, like the figure eight, the lower reflects the higher. The lower perceptions come into total congruence with the higher self-generated vision. The self being the one universal self, the generated, the vision. So there's no enlightenment already exists in a way, forever. And there's no enlightenment forever for the tiny unit, which is already, as the greater being, enlightened. But there is the cyclic drama of re-enlightenment. And in that we are now engaged, as ever we have been, reapproaching that which we are from that which we became, apparently. Well, the truly enlightened ones, I guess they laugh. You've seen those pictures of the laughing Buddhas. The great spell of illusion is dispelled, and they see things as they are, and they re-become that which they have always been. Now, how each relative I, relative you go about this depends on our ray and our astrology and our experience and the emanated path we have taken into actuality and existence, which is non-reality. We will find our way back. We're already there. We're already home, and we have to find our way home. Relative I, the monad in extension, the one in extension, has to find its way home, retracing its emanated path, which is a path of self-attenuation. And we will get there only to discover we never left. And there's been no movement whatsoever in absoluteness. But we re-dramatize the manyness, the potential manyness of our inherent infinitude. We re-dramatize that cyclically, and we're always in the middle of that drama cyclically, only to realize that while the drama seems to be ongoing, it isn't in the most essential state. The most essential state is immutable and is the infinity of infinities and contains all that ever could be in a fully infinitized, i.e. fully realized, I can't use words here. The infinitessence is all that ever could be, will be, could be anticipated. It is all in all, it is everything, and it is no thing at all. So words fail, but let's just say if we can begin to get the intuition of the immutable oneness, sameness, essentiality, then we can live our life in Maya, I think, more happily, more creatively, more archetypally, and really enjoy the cyclic divine creativity as being descends to manifest. Being descends to manifest, creation is, time then and form agree, being and time do not agree. So, this is beyond our personality issues and beyond our soul issues. This deals with the beingness of the monad, which is essentially forever. So we'll all find our own way, and these few thoughts may suggest something which will help relative you discover your own way. All right, well, these are meditations on identification, and they happen now and then when relative I becomes inspired, or thinks he's inspired, as long as he doesn't put too much sugar in his tea. And I'll share these with relative you as they come upon relative me. So, enjoy, and we'll enjoy eternity. It makes sense, We've got to enjoy what we've done here. But I won't go on and on. I'll leave that to the divine continuity. And we'll see you another time with another meditation on identification. Bye-bye.